I don't know what's worse at this point, how slow the Minnesota Wild looked against the New Jersey Devils tonight, or the fact that a team put together by Bill Guerin, one of the biggest tough guys in the NHL in his playing days, is soft. It's a soft team. 4-1 loss to the Devils tonight, a 1-3-1 road trip. Well, what's your calling card? What are you hanging your hat on as a team when the going gets tough? Again, it's the same things that we've seen over the last few years. Not breaking any news on the fact that the secondary scoring is non-existent, and the Devils, much like the Capitals were, are a good enough defensive team to take your best player completely out of the mix. What are you going to do about it? As of right now, the answer is nothing. If it wasn't so sad, I would laugh. It's just, oh my gosh, 4-1 loss. Matt Boldy did score, and I will say this tonight. Matt Boldy was noticeable the entire game. So I'm going to give Matt Boldy his props, but there were bad performances all up and down the ice. So let's postcast it. It's therapy time. The doctor is in.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Minnesota Wild lose by a score of 4-1 to the New Jersey Devils. Credit to the Devils. Fantastic team. They're a great team. They're a good, fun, young team. The Wild are not. And it's interesting that we're seeing a consistent theme for John Hines play out, in that you're getting non-existent play from many veteran players, and you're punishing the young guys for it. Now, to be fair, none of the young guys particularly played well tonight, other than probably Danila Yurov again. So I get that, but there are guys above those players that are playing substantially worse. All I needed to see from tonight's game was at the end of the game, when the going gets tough and Vinny Hinostroza gets put on the top line with Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek. Okay, what are you trying to accomplish there? What are you trying to accomplish? You know, we look at these other teams in the NHL. They have I could scheme and tell you what exactly they're going to do on a nightly basis. Other than Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov, that's all you need. That's all you need to say for this Wild team. It's a two-person show right now. It's a two-person show. It has been this season. It was last year. It was the year before that. It was the year before that. The Minnesota Wild are old leftovers. They are old leftovers that are long expired, and we continue to eat them. I made an analogy on X. I'm going to read it again because I thought it was pretty apt. Think of the Minnesota Wild like leftover food. They started off great and delicious, 2021, 2022. We remember 2021, 2022 fondly. That was a team that had identity. That was a team that had depth scoring. That was a team that was relentless in their push and their pressure. One day later, or in this case, 1 year later, food still tastes good. You can still eat it. 2 days later, in this case, 2 years, starting to go bad, but you can still eat it. 3 days later, aka 3 years later, you add a little spice to conceal the rottenness. And 4 days later, you got to throw it out. We've been eating the same leftovers for 4 years. And guess what? We're getting to a point where you can no longer afford to just bank on wins against teams that are below you in the Central. You can't bank on that anymore. The Utah Mammoth, as we're going to hear, in tonight's power rankings. The Utah Mammoth are currently third in the Central right now. They look fantastic. Chicago is now 7 games in, but Chicago is moving up the standings. You can't just afford to say, well, we'll beat the teams we beat last year, because all the other teams are moving. And it's the same things. I could take a game log from 3 years ago. In fact, let's do that. Let's just pick a game at random from one of the last 3 seasons. And I'm just going to go to the box score, and I bet I can tell you what happened. Let's go to 23-24. Let's go to Nashville, February 29th. The Minnesota Wild lost to the Nashville Predators by a score of 6-1 on the road. Thursday, February 29th. The team was 28, 26, and 6 at that point. I'm going to assume that Marcus Johansson played top 6 minutes and didn't score. I'm going to assume the penalty kill got carved up. I am also going to assume that the third line was responsible for a couple of goals. Let's see how we did. Marcus Johansson, 14 minutes, 1 shot on goal, was a -3. Freddie Gaudreau, who was playing third line minutes at that point, he was a -2. Like it's just some slightly different version of the same thing for each of the last 3 seasons. And I have no idea what the identity is of this team. I have no idea what the objective is of this team. Because if your calling card is working hard and beating the other team to the net, to the loose pucks, beating the other team to the loose pucks in the corner, you got your asses kicked in that regard tonight. The Devils, who played last night, they played on the second night of a back. They're playing on the second night of a back-to-back. They got to every loose puck. They pushed the Wild off of loose pucks themselves. They're flying around the ice. If not for Filip Gustavsson tonight, this game's probably 8 or 9-1. And hey, great road team. We'll just win games on the road. Tough start to the season at home. We'll just win games on the road. Guess what? You went 1-3-1 on the road trip. Like, am I in Groundhog Day? Am I living the plot of Groundhog Day? Am I just waking up to the same thing every week? Let's go to the stats here. And then I'll get to, there have been a lot of questions about John Hines. I will answer them. Denny is in the chat. So chat, let's please give Denny a warm welcome to the postcast. Let's go through the stats here, and then we'll get to the standouts. And then your questions. Shots, 36-30, although midway through this game, the Wilds, midway through the second period, they were stuck on 10 again. Power play has gone ice cold. Wilds won a couple more faceoffs, but faceoff lost on a penalty kill leads to an immediate power play goal for the Devils. Congratulations, you won the hits column. Blocks were even. As far as the other statistics go, the Wild had 43 unblocked shot attempts. 31 of them low danger, 7 medium danger, and 5 high danger. The one goal that they scored, they say was a low danger, although if I remember correctly, Matt Boldy batted it out of the air right out in front of the net. I thought that's how he scored. But I guess not. The Minnesota Wild offensively generated 3.02 expected goals, which actually was more than the Devils had. But the Devils scored 3 times. The Wild scored once. Filip Gustavsson, negative 0.24 goals saved below expected. The Devils, 50 unblocked shot attempts, 36 low danger, 13 medium danger, 1 high danger. So the Wild did a good job of keeping the high danger chances away. But that doesn't matter because this has been another thing. You as a goalie, Filip Gustavsson as a goalie, cannot afford to give up any goals. He had the one that literally hit the top of his mask and hit the bar. Gives that one up. Devils had another one in relatively close. I don't understand how this team can routinely, and these have all been common themes, have never been able to establish presence in front of the net consistently. They just are incapable of generating any sort of sustained presence. And anytime even a minute amount of success happens, you turn around and you immediately let up a goal. And here's another thing. I don't want to spoil it because the last couple days have been insanely busy. It's high school playoff time, which has got me going pretty much on a nightly basis. So I have an episode queued up for after this. I did a deep dive into Vladimir Tarasenko's numbers. I remember how I hypothesized that last year he was in a defensive role. And so he wasn't being asked to shoot a ton. He had the 7th most shot attempts per 60 minutes on the team. He's shooting 5 fewer shot attempts per game per 60 minutes this year than he did last year. So he's in a higher position in the lineup this year than he was last year, and he's shooting less. 1 shot on goal tonight, I think, in that second line wing spot. Is that something that is being coached? Is that part of the lineup being coached to not shoot? I am baffled. And maybe the biggest problem of all, zero sense of urgency. No sense of urgency whatsoever. You can't make the playoffs in October, but you can certainly miss the playoffs in October. And it's looking like a team that feels as though they have already clinched a spot. And as we just talked about, pretty much every team in the Central got better. Pretty much every team in the Central got better. I can excuse a lot, but when you get beat at the one thing that you are stating is your calling card, then you're not going to get any defense from me. There's a lot of work to do with this team. And the other part of this is make a trade, and I have been saying, yeah, make a trade. There's nobody that's going to be available at this point. There's no team that's out of it at this point. And the big one, and again, I don't want to spoil too much of the episode that's coming out once this postcast is done. The New York Rangers, Artemi Panarin, that's the sexy name linked to the Minnesota Wild right now. Does he want to come here? Like somebody stop me if I'm off base here. Somebody stop me if I am speaking out of turn. And I know I have preached patience myself because the season is long. And going off on a ledge with multiple games remaining is something that I did not want to do. Because there's so much season left. And if this goes wonky, then that makes watching the rest of it a little difficult, a little tricky. But this is a repeat problem. This is a repeat issue early in this season. Let's break for my sanity, and then we'll come back with questions. A lot of questions about John Hines and plenty of others to discuss. We'll do so after we continue tonight's Locked On Wild postcast right after this. You're on Locked On Wild. Tonight's postcast is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch makes it just a streamlined process, everything in one place. All the apps that you use on your phone in one spot. You don't have to sift through to get your financial picture. It's all right there. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Tonight's postcast is also brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, or I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNHL so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. I wish the Minnesota Wild would stop making excuses. 4-1. The Minnesota Wild lose to the New Jersey Devils. And they're now 3-4-1 on the season after a 1-3-1 road trip. Line of the night, because these two did play on a line at the in the third period. Trav, Kirill introduced himself to Hinostroza before the third period face-off. It's well done. Let's go to Ezekiel first. There are a lot of questions that we're going to get to. We'll circle back to a few. I heard someone say the Wild looked like they lacked structure. Wouldn't that be a Hines not being the coach they need problem? There are a few different things that could be the central culprit for this. Coaching is certainly one of them. But there's another issue that I don't think it's talked about enough. Is it depends on what sort of coach you are. Are you the coach who has a rigid structure and you try to force players into your system without maybe doing what is best for their overall game? Square peg, round hole. Or are you a coach that builds a system and a structure? You maybe have a backbone involved, but depending on your roster, you play to the players' strengths. That's one possible solution, is that especially with young players, I don't get the sense that John Hines is putting them in the best positions to succeed, which can lead to a team looking discombobulated. The best coaches take elements of their system, but also keep in mind the strengths of their players. John Cooper, for instance. Jared Bednar, for instance. They have systems. They have structures in place that they use. But your roster change, or it should, your roster changes from season to season. And that means then that you incorporate a little different wrinkle depending on who's on your roster. It's the same system from the looks of it. It's the same system that they ran when John Hines started here. And it's the same system that they're running today. So that's my guess as to what is going on there, is that it is more of, hey, you as players need to play this system as opposed to let's play to the strengths. Great question, though. Is it plausible Hines gets the boot if this keeps up? I can't really definitively answer that, because that's a Bill Guerin decision. That's a Craig Leopold decision. And I don't get the sense that the burners are on right now. I don't get the sense that the urgency is there, that the burners are on. Bill Guerin said during the broadcast tonight that he thought the team was playing pretty good. They just need to stop being cute on offense. Where have I heard that before? I've heard that for at least the last 3 seasons. And it just continues. Just continues in perpetuity. The Wild are way too perimeter centric. How do you fix that? You have to will your way to the net. The Wild have to find a way to get to the net. You just have to. You can't live on the perimeter. You can't live on the perimeter scoring. And they just don't seem inclined to want to do that at this point. And until that changes massively, it's not going to change. You have to get to the net. You have to drive to the net. You have to crash to the net. You have to have a backbone. You have to have a backbone. You have to have a want to do it. And it doesn't look like they do at this point. Would you replace Hines with Cronin? I will tell you, if there is a coaching move made this year, I don't think we're anywhere close to that. But if there is a coaching move made, it is going to be Greg Cronin. I don't think the Wild, unless Bill Guerin has another card up his sleeve for a coach in waiting. I don't think it's going to be somebody outside the organization. Pete DeBoer, by the way, I think that would get you about to where you have been. You maybe win a round or two, but you guys got to realize that Pete DeBoer has been run out of every job he's had. Not allowed his deal to expire. He's been run out of every job that he's had. And that it's not going to change. John Tortorella. You think John Hines doesn't like rookie players? John Tortorella is infinitely worse. I can tell you right now that those guys would have been Zeev. He would not be playing if Torts was the coach. John Tortorella sat Matvei Michkov for multiple games during his Philly tenure. Multiple games. So that's not gonna fix what ails this team, what ails this roster, what ails this franchise, folks, is an old school line of thinking. An old guard, the old guard thinking. And the only thing that is going to break that is by bringing new school ideas to the mix, by bringing new ideas to the party. And let's go to this for a little bit. Because as I talked about, I don't feel like this team, I feel like this team is too soft. Like, which one do you want? And look, I'm not knocking the fact that the Wild routinely mention that they have great chemistry in the room. Camaraderie, you hear about that from other teams plenty, about the great camaraderie that they bring to the table. But you can softly push people off the puck. And that's an issue. Like, I want a team that is going to beat you senseless on the ice. And is going to get to every puck, is going to out-muscle you. That's what all these deadline acquisitions have been about, is getting more muscle, getting more oomph. Where is it? That Devils team is not overly big. That Devils team is fast. That Devils team has great scoring knack. But again, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. The Devils beat the Wild off of almost every puck tonight. That's why I'm reacting to as strongly to this as I am. It'd be one thing if you went up against, Winnipeg. Winnipeg's big. Winnipeg's bulky. It'd be one thing if you went up against Vegas and you got beat like this. That's what Vegas does. The New Jersey Devils are not overtly big. And they played like it. I don't know, call it me being tired of watching this for the last 4 years and seeing this game played out in perpetuity 5 to 10 times a season. I remember when the Wild were a fast team. Oddly enough, that's the last time they made it past round 1. How do we get out of this roster after we just signed Kirill to that contract and promised him we would improve? How is it possible? Well, it's possible, but where is the want to there? That's the other question. Is the want to there to do it? Do you want to just have Kirill Kaprizov and the merry band of Musketeers? Or do you want to have a roster of the soldiers from the 300? Take your pick. Now, to be fair, the Musketeers are actually pretty good swordsmen, so that's probably a horrible analogy. But the Wild need to remember what the calling card was last year. Choose your hard. Remember that? How all of us were kind of like, okay, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's something. This year, it's like they're doing choose your soft. You can only say it's early for so many episodes before it just is what it is. Choosing my heart is watching this team play hockey. Well done. Well done, Matthew. Okay, so here's what is coming up. Here's what's coming up tonight. We got an episode talking about the Kaprizov Boldy connection. I did a deep dive into a few things. Number 1, Kaprizov and Boldy. Number 2, Vladimir Tarasenko. And I talked about the Panarin stuff for episode number 1. Episode number 2 tonight is the power rankings. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of movement on this week's power rankings. Huge movement by a few teams. So we'll talk about that. Make sure to put on your calendar Sunday. Denny's show is back, and Denny's got thoughts on all of this that you are not going to want to miss. Time is probably going to be in the afternoon. I have a speaking engagement on Sunday at noon. So we'll do the show once that is done, probably around 4, right before the Minnesota Wild play. So we'll take you right up to puck drop. How about that? We'll take you right up to puck drop on Sunday for the Wild versus the Sharks, another team that is fast and exciting, and took the Wild to the brink last year at the end of the year. So episode coming up in about 15 minutes. Another episode to follow that. And then we'll have a couple of episodes for you tomorrow. We're getting back on track here. It's the busiest week of the year for me. There's just so much going on at this point. So yeah, here's my challenge. Here's my challenge for the team. What is your identity? What is your calling card? What do you do when the going gets tough? The Wild need to figure that out in a hurry. Big props to Matt Boldy. I thought he had a great game tonight. Beyond that, it was just a lot of skating. So we'll see what happens on Saturday against the Mammoth. We'll have it for you. I'll let you know on the postcast. I have a playoff football game on Saturday at 3. So should be back in time to postcast, but if not, then we'll talk about the game on Sunday. But I will let you know. Thanks everybody for tuning in once again. Make sure to hit the like button before you head out for the night, and make sure to catch our next episode coming up here shortly. Locked on Wild has you covered all season long with deep dives, rants, vents, whatever you like. We got you covered, so make sure to stick with us all season long right here on Locked on Wild. We are your team every day.